That you all have joined this debate, and we do see tempers have been flying, but let's agree to disagree as well. And with that, it's time to in fact shift our focus over to Karnataka, but we'll be probing into another big question in terms of why the signboards and jobs and now even medical prescriptions have been advised to be in Kannada. After 60% Kannada signboards and job reservation for Kannada, now there's Kannada language push in government hospitals as well. The Kannada Development Authority has requested Karnataka's Health Minister Dinesh Gundu to mandate that doctors in government hospitals issue prescriptions in Kannada. The move has drawn sharp reactions from different sectors, while the government has backed the proposal, saying what's wrong with it. The Bharatiya Janata Party is saying that making it mandatory is not right. Let's also break it down for you. The demand is that medical prescriptions by the government doctors should be in Kannada. Now, what is the reason behind it? That it's a significant step in preserving the Kannada identity. The criticism will inject insider versus outsider sentiment. That's the criticism also being brought in by the opposition. And that's why the question we are asking today is Kannada pride politics going too far?
When you write prescriptions, suddenly you jump to English. Okay, I know the reason, because many of the medical doctors have studied in English medium, so it's very difficult to them to write it in Kannada. But my request is, or my humble request is, at least write patient's name in Kannada.
What is wrong in it? It's an administrative language. So mother tongue is very important. People understand that. That will be in a simplified way, they'll know what kind of drugs are being given to them and all other things.
All right, I'm also joined in by Mr. Narendra Rangappa, who's a spokesperson for the Bharatiya Janata Party. I'm also joined in by Dr. Pavan Kumar Patil, who is the Vice President of the IMA in Karnataka. I'm also being told that I'll be joined by the Congress spokesperson as well. But Mr. Rangappa, many would want to know what is wrong with the prescriptions being in Kannada.
See, basically myself being an orthopedic surgeon who writes many prescriptions in a day, there are a couple of issues that arise here. Prescription is a communication to the pharmacist, what he has to dispense and what he has to compound. See, from the patient perspective and the physician perspective, you look at two different sides. Suppose I am seeing a patient in Bangalore from a village in Tamil Nadu, or from a village in Andhra Pradesh, or a traveler from Dubai or from Africa is coming for a treatment by me. If I have to write a prescription in Kannada, or a prescription in Telugu, or a prescription in this any other language, doesn't make sense at all, because I can't write all the languages. Neither the patient who is coming to see me knows Kannada. So linked language is English, which has been there traditionally for a long time. From the physician perspective, I was practicing in Delhi for a few years. So I couldn't write a prescription in Hindi in Delhi, or should I learn Hindi and then go to Delhi and then practice there? Or somebody who is coming from Delhi to Bangalore to practice in Karnataka should write in Kannada? Yes, there is a requirement for the Kannada language to be learned, because the doctor has to interact with the patient and the patient has to interact with the doctor. Till there, Kannada is fine. I love my mother and I love Kannada. There is no second thought in it.
All right.
But language should not be a filter or a barrier for communicating things to the patient. This is my opinion, first call.
All right. In fact, I can see Lavanya Balal, who's a spokesperson for the Congress party, has also joined in. Thank you, Lavanya, for coming in. I know that, your party is also asking the question, what's the harm if, prescriptions are going to be in Kannada? But do you not think that this is also not a very practical decision?
Hi, good evening, Akanksha. I do realize, there has been an order passed, Professor Bilimale, who has made this request that, the prescription should be in Kannada, is a very highly educated, highly learned person, an author and all of that stuff. So he is he's a chairperson of the Kannada and Culture, department. He's a chairman for that. I would like to say, first of all, this particular board is not a statutory board. it cannot pass orders to any other ministry or departments. They can, of course, make a request that, this thing should be implemented. At this point of time, when I spoke to the minister, he told me, this is a request. Of course, people will come and give you requests. The minister has to accept it, and they will pass it on to the stakeholders and, of course, a committee, and they will decide if this should be this is practical or impractical, or is this doable or not doable. At this point of time, the government of Karnataka has not taken decision at all. At this point of time, this is just a request by one board which represents the Kannada and culture to the Department of Health. Having said that, I would also agree with our previous spokesperson. I think he was a BJP spokesperson.
Yes.
We all love Kannada. All of us love Kannada. We have no problem with that. But we also should look into the practicality of requests when people make requests.
Absolutely. I'm glad you called a spade, which is why I'm going to finally bring Dr. Patil in. Dr. Patil, how unreasonable it could be where, first of all, expecting all doctors and patients to know that this is, this is a very reasonable decision and that they ought to be knowing Kannada, whether it is the names of the drugs, chemical composition, even medical terms and terminologies.
Yeah. Good evening. Thank you for having me brought here. At the outset, I'd like to go along with Dr. Rangappa as well as Lavanya in saying that it is just a request being made from a Kannada-loving organization or a body. With due respect, we respect the Kannada speaking and the Kannada promoting any type of organizations for that matter. And I would like to bring to your notice that the Indian Medical Association Karnataka branch also has a Kannada speaking wing in its own. And it is promoting students to learn Kannada, especially those who have come from outside state. We are promoting that also. We are trying to teach them how to have a communication with the patients, especially Kannada-speaking patients. But prescription per se, it is practically not possible for anybody to write a prescription because it is a system altogether, as Dr. Rangappa said, that we write a prescription. It is for the patient to read as well as the pharmacist to know what is written in that. And unless the boxes of or the prints on the prescription tablets or the medications are also in English. So what if there is a change in what you write in Kannada and what is given dispersed at the pharmacy is a different thing. It accounts. Lot of system change is required.
But Lavanya, many are saying that, this is also taking the pro-Kannada politics to a different level. Say migrants, many of them choose to move to Karnataka at a later stage in life, perhaps may not be interested in learning Kannada. And why should there be this sort of mandate that one has to learn Kannada, even if they are in the later stages of life? It's fair enough to expect school children, but what if somebody in their middle ages moves to the state and perhaps is not so well versed with it?
Yeah, well, Akanksha, see, when we are talking about language politics, it is a different issue altogether.
No, but language is one aspect of it, right?
Yes. Let me complete my sentence. If, for example, tomorrow I move to the heartland of UP, for example, any of us, all three of us here who are panelists, if we move to the heartland of Uttar Pradesh, which speaks Hindi predominantly, we will all learn Hindi, right? At any stage of life, we will make an effort to learn basics of Hindi. I think most people, be it Congress, BJP, JDS, whoever is talking about the language Kannada today, I think that is their least amount of expectation. And I don't think it is about, a fight for, other languages shouldn't be spoken. It is basically, I think the request is, please speak Kannada and be one among us when you're in Karnataka. I think that is their point. Having said that, I would like to reiterate our health minister, Shri Dinesh Gundu, is a highly educated man and he's got a team of experts, a lot of doctors who are stakeholders also will advise him on this particular issue.
I'd like to refer to what the Karnataka High Court had to say this year itself when it dismissed a plea seeking to make Kannada mandatory. The Karnataka High Court very much went on record to say that there is no particular formula that can make the local language a universal one. and that there has to be one language should be dominating the state. That is clearly been observed by the Karnataka High Court with regards to Kannada in government correspondence as well, which is why bringing in Kannada, whether it is government correspondence or even medical prescriptions, that is where my problem is. I'd like to bring in Mr. Rangappa on that. Mr. Rangappa. Mr. Rangappa.
See, as I previously told you, in medical field, language should not be a filter, a barrier or a via media for anything, because as rightly mentioned, there are no Kannada names for many chemicals, or almost most of the chemicals do not have a Kannada name. Are you going to write English names in Kannada literature or Kannada language? So errors may creep in, and these errors may be very drastic, when you are giving some prescription, and if there is a wrong prescription given, it can lead to so many disastrous consequences. In medical field, there is no role for emotions, or there is a barrier where culture, sentiments, and other aspects other than professionalism in medicine should not cross the barrier.
All right.
So I would say it would be not a good idea to bring in compulsory Kannada prescription. I wouldn't say that.
All right, Lavanya, I'd like to close it with your thoughts, because, remember the new education policy, when it was being debated, it was being accused of being very pro-RSS, because it's being talked about how the RSS has constantly been pushing for Hindi and even native languages. Why should the push for native languages then become a problem if it is being debated under the national education policy?
The problem is not about any language. The problem is imposition of one language over another language. In Karnataka, predominantly Kannada is spoken. At this point of time, I think all those language
activists earlier this year very much had said about how it should be mandatory for everybody living in Karnataka to learn Kannada.
Yes. Yeah, let me make it very clear to you. According to the report, we have a report which says who is a Kannadiga. Anybody who has stayed in Karnataka for a decade, who has studied in Karnataka, or all of those things. Beyond that, Siddaramaiah ji always said, if you come to work in Kannada, you can always choose to learn Kannada over a 6 months period of time, learn the basics of Kannada, and if you can communicate in Kannada, there is no harm. It is a skill. Learning a language is a skill, Akanksha, and I don't think anybody should feel
But why are you bringing it into
Kannada
medical field?
all.
Why are you bringing it into the medical field?
No, sir. Sir, Mr. Rangappa, I would like to tell you, nobody is telling doctors to write in Kannada. I'm sorry, sir. Let me reiterate once again. This is just a suggestion by a chairman of Kannada board who is not a statutory board. It is his suggestion. It has not been accepted by anybody. Let me make it very clear. This is not an order. This has not been accepted by anybody. This is just a suggestion by Professor Bilimale. That's it.
The government had also enacted the Kannada Language Comprehensive Development Act in 2024 in February this year, and perhaps the BJP and Congress should have questioned that when that entire act was being implemented. Many thanks to you, ladies and gentlemen.